everybody. Matt Yonkovit, Hoss, Head of Open Source Strategy here at Percona, welcoming you to another Percona Tech Talk, where we're going to bring you the best in the open source space and give you the most interesting, fun speakers ever. We hope you enjoy the show. Hi, Sergey. Thanks for joining me for a quick chat here. Sergey, you've been with Percona for a few months now, right? So you're fairly new.
Yeah, it's like 4 months, I think.
4 months, yeah. So
Yeah.
maybe tell us a little bit about you and what you're working on, and then we can talk a little bit about these awesome blogs that you've been putting out there and some of the work we're doing around our Kubernetes operators.
Sure, gladly. So, as we mentioned, I joined Percona like 3 or 4 months ago. I'm fairly new to Percona and to open source community. I'm a product owner here, and I worked on our Kubernetes cloud and operators stuff. And before that, I was working in a merger and acquisition business, and we were acquiring lots of companies, and we were putting them all on our central platforms. It was Kubernetes as a service, database as a service, VMware as a service. It was quite an interesting time back then, and there I also started looking at switching my job from engineering management to product management as well. That is why I landed up here. And also I got interested in open source in general, how it works, how it makes money, what about the community, how to involve community into building awesome things. I was very curious about that and decided to join Percona as an open source. I think open source leader nowadays.
Yeah. So you mentioned that you were in this company that was acquiring companies and kind of moving them to their platform, and Kubernetes was one of those basic building blocks. Why is Kubernetes getting so popular? Like you've seen this growth, you've been part of it.
Yeah, so it's kind of an emerging technology. If we look back how it started, it was first bare metal and servers, right? Then VMs, virtual machines, were introduced, and they were introduced to pack things more tightly on a single server and make it possible to move them from one thing to another. And then Docker appeared, to answer the challenge of the market, so that people and businesses, they wanted to deliver faster and to have smooth pipelines of software development. And Docker and containers jumped in just nicely, right? And then after some time, once Docker appeared, people started thinking, okay, now I have thousands of Docker containers. What to do with them? How can I move one container from one place to another? And then Kubernetes kind of jumped in and said, hey, you can do this everything here, right? You have a single control plane, a single entry point. You can just give me some YAML files and I will do everything for you, right? And now Kubernetes is kind of emerging, and sometimes it's seen as a silver bullet for most of the companies, and they see Kubernetes can solve all their problems, and it's not, obviously.
And, what? Wait. You can't just like solve world hunger, war, famine, like everything with Kubernetes. I've been misled. I'm just telling you.
Now, maybe you can, right? But you need to apply some other skills to that as well. But Kubernetes is a good tool. It's just an automation tool. It helps you to orchestrate your containers, right? But when small startup, which is just running an MVP, he says, okay, I will use Kubernetes. It's a mistake, obviously, right? And in this merger and acquisition business where I was at, we were moving some parts to Kubernetes, but it was not like a lift and shift process. So when we acquired a company, it was running some data center. Obviously, you should not move all the stuff to Kubernetes because not everything can fit into Kubernetes. Some stateless workloads, sure. Databases, we see with Percona, it's possible as well with operators, sure. But some other workloads, like super complex one for banking, you cannot run them there. It's not feasible. Like huge Oracle VMs, you cannot pack them into Kubernetes right away. You need to smash them into microservices, and then probably move them, right? So yeah, it's a complex process, and more businesses understand that they need Kubernetes to deliver faster, to ship their code faster to production, and with the help of containers. And that is why this is an emerging technology nowadays.
And it's interesting. You mentioned databases because honestly, you know this. Containers and Kubernetes were never designed for databases originally.
Correct.
I mean, it's the add-on kind of effect, and similar as you mentioned, you start to get thousands of containers, and you start to break out your microservices, and you get just I know of companies that have tens or if not hundreds of thousands of containers that they're running, and just thousands of microservices all over the place. Each one of them wants a database, right? And as you start to build that development enablement or the development pipeline ecosystem for your teams, the database needs to be part of it. And that's where databases are being pulled along, kind of kicking and screaming into that Kubernetes space and into that DevOps automation pipeline. And we've seen things like outside of Kubernetes as well, like Terraform, for instance. And certainly VMware has their solutions. We've seen the Tanzu marketplace around there, and Pivotal now kind of pivoting more towards Kubernetes. But there's been a lot of solutions that have been focused on trying to solve managing the herd of not only applications but databases. And that's why it's really important from a database perspective to ensure that your databases are properly set up to use Kubernetes. And that's why the work that you are doing on operators is critical to make sure that people can get stable, consistent performance and setups, because it's kind of complicated.
Yeah, it is definitely, but it's also very challenging and interesting. But you mentioned it correctly. So Kubernetes started as a tool to run your stateless workloads, and developers and operations teams, they were running stateless workloads in Kubernetes, and they had the data somewhere, right? If they're running in the cloud, it's something like Amazon RDS or whatever it is, some other tool. And running database in a container, even nowadays, is not the norm, right? People don't believe in it. But we see in Percona that already 80% of developers, they report that they run their databases in Docker already, right? So it's a lot, and it seems like not a problem. And then you come to another challenge where you have your data somewhere on Amazon or on Google Cloud and some managed service, and you quickly need to move from one cloud to another. What to do, right? And Kubernetes, again, jumps in just nicely. It's a hybrid cloud-ready tool which can move your workload from one cloud to another with a few clicks, right? And that is where operators jump in just nicely. You have your database as a set of Kubernetes YAML standardized, which you can move from one Kubernetes cluster to another easily, and it does not depend on the cloud specifics, right? You can just move it along. So yeah, running databases in Kubernetes is, I would not say it's fairly new concept. There are some other companies which are running their DBaaS platforms in Kubernetes, and we want to do the same because we see that it is requested by the community, by the customers.
Okay. And so what kind of challenges have you been running into? I mean, you've only been here, the 4 months-ish, but as you've, gone out and started to work on, the operators, it's not always easy. You mentioned it's a challenge. So what are some of the common challenges that you're running into?
Well, I think if we talk about operators in general, without touching the databases, I believe the biggest challenge here is quality assurance, QA, because when you write the code for Kubernetes, for operators specifically, you need to test a lot of different variations. Like you need to test various Kubernetes versions. You need to test various database versions if you have a database inside. You need to test various flags in Kubernetes, like service type, load balancer, whatever you have there. And there are like hundreds and maybe thousands of permutations that QA needs to think about and test them. This is the general operators problem in Kubernetes problem, I would say. And the challenge with the database in Kubernetes is that initially when I just joined, I thought, okay, what is it about? It's just running a database in a Docker container. Just run it, like set an image and you're set. But it's not, right? And I saw some products outside there which do exactly the same. They just think that, okay, if I put my Docker image in Kubernetes and run it there, it will work and my database would work. It's not, right? So you need to build a lot of code around that to support the database itself. Because if you just think that Kubernetes can manage the data very well, right now it cannot. Because you will lose data if you just think you can run your database as is.
It's the stateful application that a database is, right? I mean, that's really the driver. So you've wrote this blog, and I know a lot of companies are buzzing around the buzzword edge computing, right? It's something that is, it's a legitimate, thing. And for those who are watching who don't know what edge computing is, it's, running, machines as close to the source as possible. So if you've got multiple locations, you have machines in each location. So, you wrote an article on running Kubernetes on the edge, and maybe you could tell us a little bit about, that and your thoughts on, running, multiple Kubernetes clusters in different locations and running them as close to that source as possible.
Sure. So Kubernetes is an orchestration platform, right? And when I first heard about the edge, I never thought about Kubernetes being a good tool for that. But then I read some articles and I ran some experiments, and I saw that it's a pretty great one. And the reason for that is the edge is, as you said, is just bringing your computation power closer to the source or your end devices. I don't know, you have a camera, a doorbell, whatever it is, connected as an IoT device to the internet, and you need computation power to support that. I don't know, maybe for doorbell, you have video encoding or something like that. You need to do it there, right? And Kubernetes just helps you to bring this computation power closer to your devices without changing your development pipelines or whatever. You don't need to invent anything new. You don't need to think, okay, how do I ship an update to my doorbell? How do I ship an update to my video server? You just have a Kubernetes, and it's a standard YAML file thing. You just ship your YAML file and you're done, right? So this standardization of Kubernetes kind of works super great if you want to build your own microcloud or you want to manage hundreds and thousands of devices right away. And,
I mean, like, sorry to interrupt, but I mean, I think that's where it's interesting is it's that portability, right? It's the drop it into the different locations and you can expand and shrink as needed. I think that's really
exactly. Portability is great with Kubernetes as well. Correct. And in general, sometimes people ask, okay, why do I want to run Kubernetes and not just simple containers? And the answer is, if your system is complex enough, like you have not only one container, but you have 10 containers to support your system, you need Kubernetes because, again, you need some orchestration to move these containers around. So this is why.
So Sergey, let me finish with this question for you. Are there technologies or trends that you're either excited about or concerned about that are happening, right now? We're trying to look forward. I like to ask this question because that way people can understand, what the experts are seeing. So are there certain trends or technologies that you're extra excited about or are really concerned about?
Okay. One of the technologies that I'm really excited is I would say Kubernetes again, but Kubernetes is a control plane to manage not only containers but VMs as well. So I saw it. There was a project called Project Pacific from VMware, and they renamed it to Tanzu later on, and now it's called Tanzu Grid, I think. And it's super cool because it allows you to manage all your infrastructure, current and the new one where you want to migrate to containers, through a single Kubernetes control plane. And you don't need to change anything at all. You just move your workloads from VM to container seamlessly. It's super great. And I believe this would be a game changer for huge enterprises, which are currently stuck with legacy bare metal data centers and some, I don't know, mainframes, and they want to move forward to some new emerging technologies. And this whole thing will help them a lot. I'm really excited about that.
Yeah, that's really cool. Like if you can manage VMs and containers, flip between them seamlessly, that has benefits, because there's a lot of times VMs are better than containers are better than VMs, and so you've got to be able to pick the right tool for the right job. Yeah,
correct,
so
correct. Cool. As I said, I don't believe in Kubernetes as a silver bullet, so VMs will stay there for some time for sure.
Right. Yeah. Well, all right, Sergey, thank you for sitting down with me and chatting with me today. I really appreciate it. And let us know if anything new and exciting comes out. We'd love to chat with you again, and we'll be looking forward to checking out your blogs.
Thank you. Thank you, Matt. Thank you for having me. Have a good day.
Yep. We hope you had as much fun as we did with that episode, and we really appreciate you hanging out with us. What would really help us out is if you like this video, go ahead and give us a thumbs up, like it. Also, follow us on LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, and everywhere that Percona is. Welcome to the Percona community. We're really excited to have you here, and we can't wait to give you more awesome topics.